Hello, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. Alright, what's the notice? Actually, I don't care. Preview. Hakunin Iki. I missed the first one of this, but yeah, we get to do it now. Now, Drink a Dreaming ending, Divine Ingenuity ending. Alright. Now, I've actually done everything. Don't even know why this place is still here, but whatever. Yeah, I've done everything. No more resin, and yeah, all commissions completed. So I can get it out of the way, and I can actually start reading the damn books. Alright, let's sit and I'll study and read books. I gotta create more indoor sets. I'll do it after this. Okay, it's book time with a perfect party member for it, Xing Qiu. Sorry, doglets. This had to be done. Alright. Oh, well, whatever. Let's see. Archive. Equipment? No, not really. Books. Which one should I start with? Probably. Let's see. These all are complete except for some of these. There is melancholy not complete. There's the sword. What about the Byakuyokoku collection? No. I suppose since we're Xingqiu, Shattered Halberd? Probably. Alright. In ancient times, when Axis Mundi was unobstructed, there were 9 realms, each a world of its own. The realm of humans was known as the Zhongzhou, while the gods reside in Shenxiao. At the end of the last calamity, a war between the gods broke out. The God King fell, setting the 9 realms ablaze. Obliterating all living things, the realms have now been born anew. Life again thrives. But the passageway between the 9 realms by Axis Mundi has been sealed off. An all-new graphic novel on the epic journey in search of the God King's halberd begins. Oh. So how did the God King fall? Maybe he'll tell me in the first volume. Okay. Volume 1. Pressing official business. I am the great and glorious General Wei Yang, emissary of the Imperial Court on a royal mission. I demand that you step aside at once. General, so the great and glorious is a military rank now? Huh. I thought it was a civil office. Mia responded with not a moment's hesitation. Wei Yang's face turned bright red. Oh? An ignorant borderland heathen seeks to educate me on the matters of the court? Mia was unfazed. I would be surprised if they'd overhauled the entire government bureaucracy in the space of a few years. 2 broad, sword-wielding martial artists in Wei Yang's party burst out laughing. Ha ha! So ends our grand journey to the capital. The cart finally makes it past 1,000 miles of checkpoints only to get gridlocked like this at some tiny little inn in the wilderness. The waiter, Qin, stared intently at Wei Yang's crimson-colored cheeks before suddenly declaring, "You're a woman! A female officer disguised as a man!" The claim was accentuated with a prod of his finger. An astute observation, came from the response of one of the martial artists. She is, in fact, the Secretary of Ceremonies. The two of us are military officers, one from the Imperial Guards, the other from the Imperial Escorts, both versed in polearm and sword. We are serving the office of the Imperial Grand Minister on secondment, and we are here under orders to retrieve the ominous swords. Although the part about the great and glorious general, although that's made up, the bit about being here on official court business is not. The other martial artist chimed in to say. The ominous swords were something that Mir had heard of. The story was that an iron meteorite had fallen from the sky 6 years ago. I guess I want to embellish. And convention dictated that as nature's treasure, it belonged to the imperial family. However, a swordsmith by the name of Feng had taken it for himself and used it to illegally cast 9 swords. It was said that the ominous swords were cursed by the meteorite and could drain people's intellect. Naturally, they had caused quite the stir in martial artists' circles. Good for you, said Mir as he shut the toilet door. It'd be even better for me if you got yourself out from that toilet now. Her disguise exposed, Wei Yang gave up trying to compose herself and spoke in a normal voice. She sounded more charming than one would expect, given the circumstances. Officer Wei Yang is a cultured lady of the court. Unlike us, she cannot resolve her pressing official business by simply finding a discreet spot in the wild. Please, hurry up. Mia washed his hands and exited the toilet, then sat down at the table with the 2 martial artists. It is not at every border town that we encounter one so familiar with court affairs. The one that seems to be the Imperial Escort officer sizes up Mir. Might I inquire as to your personal history? My father, Mi Tingren, was Minister of Imperial Banquets. He was framed for embezzlement of funds intended for the imperial cuisine. He then resigned from his post and returned home. Mia paused to scratch his chin before continuing. My old man's not been himself ever since it happened. I still intend to go back to the court one day and clear the Mi family name up. Volume 2. A Matter of Possession. Mir, having stumbled onto the journey to retrieve the swords by accident, encountered a huge crisis before the journey had even begun. Imperial Guard and Imperial Escort elites were slain by enemies holding their ominous swords. Amidst great danger, Mir recalled a spell taught by his father. Legend was that the Celestial Emperor has a young daughter whose name was not known to the world. She now possessed Wei Yang's body and revealed herself. Who would prevail? The wielders of the ominous swords who had turned into ferocious demons? Or Mir, who could somewhat hold his own in a fight? Very nice. Now that the spirit had possessed her body, Wei Yang was of a much sweeter and gentler disposition. Now he has possessed her... What? Did I miss some part or whatever? She took a tiny bite of one of Mir's stuffed pies. It was too hot. So in an effort to avoid burning her tongue, she stuck it out of her mouth and panted for breath frantically. Truth be told, it was all rather cute. That came unexpectedly. I need some time to process. Mir, who had given up one of his eyeballs to appease the spirit, helped himself to a pie and asked, "Can you go over it again?" Excuse me, what? Sure. Okay. Very well. Very well. The meteorite was in fact a divine halberd. It was snapped into pieces by a commoner and made into 9 cursed swords, the ominous swords. This one is the sword of mist. Adding in that pair, we found 3 of them to date. And what's your place in all this? I was once the daughter of the Celestial Emperor, but I have long forgotten my name. I was in charge of conducting trials and sentencing at the end, a judge, to use your parlance. Since the court of imperial entertainments was responsible for sacrifices and offerings, Muriel's father had forced him to learn every last detail and word uttered in every known court ritual. And because most rituals involved encounters with bizarre forces and temperamental deities, he also knew a thing or two about how to deal with them. For instance, he knew that deities tend to guard their names closely, for knowledge of a deity's true name allows a human being to exercise absolute control over them. So he wasn't convinced this one had simply forgotten her name. So, the court wants to retrieve the swords to reconstruct the divine halberd? Mia forced himself to entertain the reasonability of this line of inquiry. I don't know. The master of this body knows nothing else. She is just deeply angry. She wants to prove herself. Wei Yang put her hands on her chest. So what's the next step? Do I have to perform some sort of farewell ceremony for you? Mia stroked the bandaged and sightless eye. And then do I get my eye back? Give me a name. She raised her hand, oblivious to the crumbs at the edges of her mouth. Don't be ridiculous. The Imperial Civil Service examinations are overseen in person by the Emperor himself. How will I claim the title of Minister of Imperial Banquets with only one eye? Well, I have things to reclaim too. The remaining pieces of the divine halberd, she responded. Otherwise, this world and everything in it is going to burn in hellfire. Mir kept looking at her, but did not respond. You do not need to go with me, but with the fate of all living things at stake, please allow me to hold on to your eyeball for the time being. Man, I don't know who's talking. I have to guess. Volume 3. Just stay with the name Wei Yang for convenience sake on the road. With the official documents from the government in hand, you should be free to go as you wish throughout the kingdom. Still worried about Wei Yang, Mir decided to accompany her on her journey and kill any demons they may encounter. Though they had already collected 5 ominous swords and all seemed to be well, they knew in their hearts that the only way forward would only get more treacherous and perilous. A dark westward journey. This is all that I can do for you, Mir said as he placed a series of dishes onto the table. He then sat down opposite Wei Yang. Wei Yang's right arm, which was broken in the fight to the death that had just taken place, was still wrapped in bandages. She stared intensely at Mir for a long while, but Mir just sat there resting his jaw on his hand and looking downwards. Neither of them spoke. Finally, Wei Yang attempted to use chopsticks with her left hand, but alas, her dexterity was found wanting, and she failed to procure a single meatball from the murky depths of the hot broth. Mir sighed, took the chopsticks from her hand and said, Fine, I'll feed you. So there's still more that you can do for me? Wei Yang suddenly quipped a few mouthfuls in. Her mood remained unchanged. The Court of Imperial Entertainments is dedicated to worshipping and making sacrifices to all of you divine beings up above. Serving you is my family's job. And in any case, when the gods make their move, what can mere mortals do but look on helplessly and accept their fate? At least that's what Mia thought, but he also thought it was better to keep that part to himself. Couldn't you use your powers, though? I thought you said that each time you fight an ominous sword owner, You use telekinesis to make your polearm levitate, swing your sword around, and so on. Surely chopsticks can't be any harder.
That is a power bestowed upon me by my father. Only I have this power. It is solely for use in sentencing the guilty. I mustn't.
Wei Yang's voice changed in tone.
I mustn't use it lightly.
Before he died, that guy said something really strange about the situation. God damn it.
Before he died, that guy said something really strange about the situation with my father.
Mir flicked the candle flame while he spoke to relieve his boredom. Minister Mi was neither innocent nor willingly accused. What on earth did he mean by that? If the court was unwilling to reconstruct the divine halberd, then being with the celestial emperor's daughter that possessed Wei Yang's body makes him an enemy of the imperial court, as if to signal that she had understood what Mir was thinking. Wei Yang's face grew dark in the candlelight. She said,
You don't need to help me any longer. You are a mere mortal. There is nothing to be gained from settling a score with the court.
Mir replied, Speak no more of this matter. I must get the truth out of my old man first.
Wei Yang said, Oh? We will pay a visit to your esteemed father. Then I must buy some fresh silk garments and makeup first thing tomorrow morning.
Mir replied, It's just a regular old man. There's no need for all of that. An unusually stern expression appeared on Wei Yang's face. Is this not your sworn duty? Who said that? I'm gonna say Mir. Okay, volume 4. Bam. Calm down, my son. Listen, Mir. I am not your real father. No! Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot act like that. I'm not a voice actor. The once Minister of Imperial Banquets was, in truth, Khan the Asura from Jotunheim. Jotunheim? What? Is this fucking... What's it called? Is it Greek? No, it's not Greek, it's Norse. Norse mythology. Even the capital was but an act in collaboration with the Minister of Ceremonies and the Grand Secretary to protect the daughter of the Celestial Emperor. The late Celestial Emperor, Shen Xiao, the now Contra Mundi, was once a dear friend of mine, but now knowing that you have successfully summoned her, all my wishes have been fulfilled.
What?
Master plan. Even a Buddha or an Adeptus would have found themselves powerless to do anything in this situation. This is the Sword of Flame, the Katakugosha. It was made from the shard of the divine halberd that was the Dharani of the Fire Realm. Sorry, in language that your majesty would understand, it's made with the runes of the Fire Realm, one of the God King's 9 realms. How could this westbound warrior display such mastery of the sword? Most who had been stripped of their intellect by an ominous sword lose their fighting instinct and any more martial arts they had learned. Wei Yang nursed her broken arm and panted in the scorching hot air. Normally her abilities would enable her to fix broken bones, but the unquenchable flames burnt relentlessly at her wound. Her sight grew blurry as she lost blood. Mir stepped in front of her, guiding her from the warrior.
I can see that you have a lot of questions. Fine, I'll tell you everything. I killed your father because he tried to stop the resurrection of the God King. And the reason I can manipulate the Fire Realm runes rather than the other way around is because
the warrior from the east raised the ominous sword.
Is because I am a warrior of hunt from above made flesh.
What? Hunt from above?
Legend has it that the Celestial Emperor once went to war with the Asura. To prepare for the war, the Celestial Emperor selected soldiers from 3 realms and made them ascend to become his celestial army after death. Sometimes they were beset by inclement weather on the marsh, with thundercloud tornadoes around them. The people of Zhongzhou referred to it as the soldiers of the Celestial Army hunting from above. No, impossible! A look of disbelief appeared on the warrior's face as the ominous sword broke into pieces, and he, too, was sent flying from his own shoulders towards whatever destiny had in store for him next. In the chaos, Mia had brought out the sword his father had left him as inheritance. It was intended as more of a gesture of defiance than a genuine attempt to fight back, but unbeknownst to him, this was the greatest cursed sword of all, that had once burned the entire world to cinders. Levitain. If the Fire Realm runes constitute the mystery of the Fire Realm, Levitain was its pure, unadulterated, unquenchable reality. The sword had extinguished after the world was burned, but having assimilated the rune of the Fire Realm, it burned bright once more. The whole world destroyed again. Wei Yang fell unconscious as she spoke. What? This is getting weirder and weirder. There are many among the military officials who wish to unseal Access Mundi, since the world in chaos would greatly elevate the position and importance of the martial artists. They want to wage another war of the Asuras. He does. The tug of war between the civil and military officials and the schemes of the past gods once again threatens all of the 9 realms. Legacy of a goddess. Your deeds have saved the people. You are indeed a great warrior. The Crown Prince, hands clasped behind his back, walked in circles round Mir, who lay prostrate on the ground. But Mia was unmoved by his words. Hand over the divine halberd, and you may have the title of Minister of Imperial Banquets. Grand Secretary will be yours too within a decade if you want it. The Crown Prince sat down. Well, what is your response? A lowly commoner dares not speak till His Majesty permits him to rise. But now if I granted you permission to speak, it would be because you had instructed me to do so. We can't have that. As a future lord of all the land, what a charade is this? Said Mir as he switched to a more relaxed position. The official etiquette for the ruling dynasty does not require kowtowing for audience with the Crown Prince. It should just be the regular thrice greeting. I noticed that you were on track to become emperor, so I thought I'd come to pay my respects. There's just no need to lord it over me like this. You... What about me? Mir snapped as he stood up. I will give you half of the divine halberd, the Durrani of the Fire Realm. I will offer to father, mostly to avoid another situation where we have remnants trying to stir up trouble. Can't hurt. As long as the portion I get looks the part, he'll be fine. This is gonna be known as the new national superweapon. Mir sat down impatiently right in front of the Crown Prince. I don't understand how you are such a fool when we were both raised in the same mother's milk. How dare you? I have nothing but respect for Lady Mi serving as my wet nurse. And it's only because of the virtue she instilled in me that I am able to put up with you. Give the title of Minister of Imperial Banquets to someone who cares. I'm going home. Crown Prince said nothing. How about Wei Yang? Mir chewed his food and acted nonchalant. Oh? For the meritorious act of retrieving the sword, she was promoted to Secretary of Ceremonies. She was not implicated for the evil plot by her father, the Imperial Grand Minister. The Minister of Ceremonies and the Grand Secretary both testified. I'll see her every need is met.
Something sounded odd about that, but that was fine. She was gone and his eye was restored. But to this day, there was still a dull ache, like the phantom pain of a missing limb. Phantom pain, eh? Not that shit again. Oh well. Mia once again chanted the forgotten spell. The maiden was reunited with him again. So, this is what you truly look like. The world is beyond repair. It shall be born anew from the ashes of the last. The mad celestial emperor sentenced all living things of the world to a harsh punishment. But you would understand me, wouldn't you? The nameless thief who stole the national treasure said to his lord, "No, no apologies necessary, for you are benevolent." What? Okay, nothingness. Oh, my daughter, the one in whom all my hopes are placed. Did I not bring you into existence that you might one day pierce me with a halberd? Awakened at last, the God King floated in the heavens to the claps of thunder and the dancing of the wind, rejoicing at his return. But she was no longer afraid. This was the moment she had been waiting for her entire life, the moment she had been made for all those eons ago. No, that was not it. The true source of her courage was the time she had spent with him. The first divine halberd, Ermin, once pierced the axis mundi and connected the 9 worlds. Now its replicas have proliferated across the heavens. Fearing the madness that would ensue following his death, the God King made one final divine halberd, and named it the Prinzessin der What? Prinzessin der Verurteilung. Prinzessin der Verurteilung. In this moment, it, nay, she, could finally unleash her true self. What? Official? A commentary from the editor appears at the end of the book. Legend of the Shattered Halberd was a successful first attempt by Inazuma's Yae publishing house to incorporate elements of Liu culture in one of their novels. The first 5 volumes were wildly successful, becoming something of a cultural phenomenon in both Inazuma and Liu. Commercially, the fact that a 6th volume exists at all speaks to its success. I trust that the abrupt finale to this epic saga brought by Volume 6 will not be to our readers' displeasure, I hope. Though the ending reads like a different story entirely, I must stress that this did not arise from any attempt on our part to pressurize Mr. 9, the author. Chang the 9? Okay. Into developing material for a new series. The truth is that his rush to meet the publishing schedule, Mr. 9 ended up diverging somewhat from his usual style. Mr. 9 simply wished to challenge himself as a writer. Oh, with a little of heart. Naturally, we are sympathetic to the fans of the original first 5 volumes. In this spirit, we would like to announce that a special first 5 collector's edition, the Blackwood box set, is currently in the making. Those who have grown up reading Legend of the Shattered Halberd in bookstores, this is the time to finally buy it for yourself. Also expect to hear more tales of the Prinzessin der Verurteilung in future. Chief Editor, Yae Publishing House. Chief Editor? That would be Yae herself, wouldn't it? Well, that's done. Prinzessin der Verurteilung. Laos Princess Fischl. Shall I read this? Maybe. I kind of want to read Legend on Iron Sword, but let's read this one first. I'll have plenty of time. That was just 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes. Oh, only one volume. And it's complete. Weird. The preliminary volume of the Flowers for Princess Fischl series. This book originally came in a violet and black wooden box as a limited edition gift, but many hardcore fans of the series who wanted to collect the whole saga were enraged by the great amount of content versus the small number of copies printed. Due to this, Yay Publishing House would name this book Volume 0 and sell it separately. Eventually, the original work, the Box Collector's Edition, and Volume 0 would all come to be regarded as standard by fans. What? Oh, well, whatever. Phantasmagoria. The dream lives on. Such words surely must appear the midst of every tale. They are largely the words of the case setting of the Immernatrix. 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 No, Immernatrix. This surely is not the enigma that concerns the greatest majority of readers, but we must still start here nonetheless. Osvaldo Hrafnavins, the mighty lord of the Nachtrabin. The official's strength in battle might be considered a 10, and the beasts of the world should have an average of 15. What? Is this D&D? Is it talking about the challenge score? Challenge rating? Then Osvaldo's strength may be considered 13. His great power was on display when he destroyed Damarang in Volume 1. That said, the Nakhvorang is itself the nemesis of Damarang anyway. As for the feelings that Osvaldo holds towards Fischl, Mr. Nine does not believe it to be romance. More likely a form of imprinting common to bird kindred. Editor-in-Chief's notes. Regardless of what the author says, dear readers, you are free to interpret the personal relationships of the characters from the Immernatrix however you like. Aside from this, the title Prince Nachtrabin is not a particularly high-flown one, considering that the Night Ravens have always been known for being conspirators and bearers of curses. Osvaldo but likely insisted on this title, for how could a mere king of the night call himself thus before the Immernatrix? Immernatrix. Beasts of the world. Just some Kunstwerk. In certain probabilities, this is the beast of the world that the Immernatrix would be faced with in this cycle. I'm sorry, I gotta look up how to pronounce these. My god. Okay, let's go to official book pronunciation. Not just official, everything Immernatrix. Is it this?
Immernachtreich.
Immernatrix.
Immernachtreich.
Immer Nachtreich.
Immer nachtreich.
Immer Nachtreich.
Immer nachtreich.
Immer Nachtreich.
Immer nachtreich.
Immer Nachtreich. Okay, what else? I can't believe this. Okay, this might make it take too long, so let's just pronounce it as best as we can. All right. Beast of the world, Gesamtkunstwerk. Gesamtkunstwerk. In certain probabilities, this is the beast of the world that the Immanentreich would be faced with in this cycle. Its battle strength is around 30. In a distant causality, if the philosopher Zarathustra was not chosen, then the opera writer would have gained victory in the contest over the will of the world. Once Gesamtkunstwerk takes the stage in the opera theater of the apocalypse, many more beasts of the world that reside within the center of the universe will inexorably begin to appear as well. In the final volume, the weakness of the beast of the world, Saint of Seven Tears, whose combat strength was 10, and therefore equal to Fischl, was quite out of the ordinary, and the saint merely wept for Zarathustra at first, a choice that seems undeserving of any blame. Both Zarathustra and the musician exist to give praise to the Prinzessin der Vertelung. One claims the agony she suffers in her heart, while the other proclaims the grandeur of her travails. The Prinzessin, of course, will not favor the latter, for of such things would she be ashamed. Sommernachtgarten. It is said that those who are highly skilled in the magical arts will possess their own unique domains of consciousness. What, kind of like Raiden Shogun, eh? Their loves, hatreds, yearnings, jealousies, adherence, and passions of the soul will be stored here. In the fictional tales of other novels, this space is called Summerland. The Sommernachtgarten of the Prinzessin is something in this vein. That this concept was never well explored in the end remains quite pity. This concept was never well explored in the end remains quite the pity. I'm pretty sure that's exactly like Raiden Shogun's consciousness. When she lives in A's consciousness or whatever. Well, vice versa. It's called Summerland, I suppose. The suspected eternal return. Quite a few of the finer points of the tale have caused people to wonder if the Kaiserin of the Immanentreich was once experienced all that Fischl has. Fischl's father is undoubtedly not a mere shade. He is majestic and mighty, and helps Fischl to dispel her confusions. As for Fischl's mother, the Kaiserin, her actions and deeds now show her to have quite an interesting character indeed, but she will only speak one line, which is, as was noted earlier in this text, the dream lives on. In the final volume, Fischl's mother had already faded away. And so this volume, naturally, did not have this preceding line. But as the universe entered its denouement, and all things within it flowed into the Immanachrite, she spoke another line of enigmatic intent. Find meaning somewhere. The night deepens. Find meaning somewhere. The night deepens. But the dream lives on. Dear readers, I hope that you will all find happiness in this world where the sun still rises each day. Collection of questions and answers. Question. Dear Mr. Nine, may I ask what the relationship between the Celestial Emperor's daughter in Legend of the Shattered Halberd and Fischl von Luftschloss Narfidort is? Answer. I felt that the tragedy that unfolded toward the end of Volume 5 of Legend of the Shattered Halberd was due to the male protagonist, and the Celestial Emperor's daughter's attraction to him. As such, I wanted to write a Prinzessin der Vertelung who had no need of a male protagonist. This was the scaffold that would come to be Flowers for Princess Fischl. Eventually, though, I did write the 6th volume of Halberd, which rescued the ending. There was probably some cross-pollination of the process of writing 2 series at the same time, but I was personally quite pleased with the result. Question. In a fight between Mira's dad, Khan the Asura, and his sword Leviathan, at full strength versus Gesamtkunstwerk, who would come out on top? Answer. I originally intended to refuse to answer this question, but the editor-in-chief said that she'd ask my next manuscript if I didn't, in which case, my moral will be on Gesamtkunstwerk. Editor-in-chief. Let's yai again. Mr. Nine, you mentioned in Farewell from Welt that you were suffering from hair loss. Are you doing better now? Could the Yai publishing house not accept this sort of question? And do people actually read what gets added in these new editions? Editor-in-chief's note. Oh, but the readers are very concerned about you. And yes, they are also very concerned about the purchase of new editions. Can you hear Yai in that? Come on. Legend of the Sword. How about let's do this? Volume 1. Amid a sea of stars that spin in reverse, light centuries of war unfold down on the planet's surface. With this grandiose opening comes an all-new tale of gallantry. Someone's red hair, someone's green hair? Is that Sucrose and Diluc? Even if Emperor Sher's ambitions are realized, how will anybody benefit from it? Secretary of Defense Faranges stared out of the window into space as the galaxies and stars shone gently upon her face. Oh, her face. Oh well. Their pale white glow flowing softly and slowly down each strand of her hair. She couldn't help but think back to the first time she looked out at this ocean of stars through this very window. But she no longer remembered the sense of awe she felt back then. Even her homeland, now hundreds of light years away, had long since become faded and distorted in her memories whenever they surfaced in her dreams. Forgive me for speaking out of place, Your Highness, but this war has been dragging on for far too long. We've battled through countless constellations, wiped out tens of millions of lives in all sorts of devious ways, and made ourselves viceroys and envoys of every obscure constellation we came across, all in an effort to make Emperor Sher's dream a reality. But what has his grand vision brought us? One misfortune after another, and an ever-growing number of enemies. They're in every corner of the galaxy now. It's just a matter of time before they swallow us up. My brother's vision is for an empire that will rule for all eternity. One where there is no fear, and where people do not lack for anything. The fate of the many will no longer be dictated by the few. No one will enjoy a higher status than anybody else, and even incompetence will no longer be seen as a crime. And so, it is inevitable that those who cannot comprehend this grand vision are doomed to be swept aside. This is their fate.
Princess Golpatha shook her head and spoke with a gentle yet cold tone. It seemed as if the intergalactic anti-guerrilla war had robbed her of more than just one of her eyes and one of her arms, because when Ferranges looked at her, she did not see the joyful young woman she once knew.
I trust in brother's decision. He would not act out of mere self-interest. So please, even though it is you, don't say such things again in the future. Don't speak words that sow doubt.
I think there was two women in the room, like Ferranges women, and she was speaking to the Highness, which is a Princess Golpatha. Oh, fuck that up, but whatever. Oh, volume 2. Menacing stars are spinning in reverse. No battle is legendary enough to be more than a ripple in the sands for those who dwell upon the shore. And for the warriors in the thick of it, the war is all there is. Surely, even an armada consisting entirely of Azida-class warships would have a tough job making a dent in a defense as watertight as this one. Admiral Geldofried's overconfidence in the greatest technological marvel of the Empire meant that she was completely unaware that the rebels were at that very moment closing in on the fatal weakness of their base, the mighty star fortress Anushawan. Designed personally by Princess Golpatha, named by Emperor Sher, was now nothing more than a fragile egg before the rebel fleet, and Mother Hen was away from the nest. Bastinu deftly navigated the lash clipper through the intricate and winding ventilation system, weaving between jets of poisonous gas and elemental clouds shooting out from holes in the walls, while trying to shake the automatic mechanical sentries on his tail. His eyes and ears filled with blood, and the scene before him merged into a continuous blur of color, then light as the clipper shot ahead at breathtaking speed. Now's my chance, so thought Bastinu to himself as the propulsion system's energy core came gradually into view. It's time, so thought Admiral Geldofried to herself as she gazed at the flashing sphere of light in the planet's orbit. Then she gave the order to launch an indiscriminate assault on the planet. Then Bastinu launched a fatal attack on the fortress core. Oh, what I would give to see the look on Princess Golpatha's face right now. So thought both to themselves, separately, but identically, in that brief moment. So he blew himself up, and technically the fortress would have blown up too. Anyway, volume 3. Amid a sea of stars that spin in reverse lies a small chain of shattered isles, each of which has its own history, featuring tales heroic and trivial alike. This heroic tale is set in the time of the Suruga Shogunate. Oh well, whatever. Volume 3. 10 years later, 25 light years away. With the nation under the rule of the Suruga Shogunate, cries of anguish filled the streets as the people suffered bitterly. At that time, the Suruga Shogunate was led by the Seitai Shogun, Imagawa Ujizane. 4 years prior, after finally beheading Demon King Danjochu, the Tai shogun's own reign of terror began. It was in this time and place that our free and unrestrained swordmaster wandered the land. His name was Bichu Kyubei, and he was known to the people as Shinkuro, the Vigilante. Bichu Kyubei was not a ronin as such. It is said that he was once the most trusted strategist for His Excellency the Tai Shogun, until one day he was framed by a rival. Given the shogun's paranoid nature, this left him with no choice but to flee the shogunate and escape into the wilderness. Today, Shinkuro was standing on a mountainside gazing into the distance. But what was the object of his gaze? Was it the vast expanse of open fields? No. Was it the mountain range in the distance? No. Was it the road stretching out ahead of him? Yes, although that's not the full story. So, what was the object of Shinkuro's gaze exactly? The farmers who had paid the swordsman in rice for his services cowered in fear, too afraid to ask. It seems that only the silent swordsman himself knew the answer to this question. I don't get what the fuck is going on. Anyway, Volume 4. There is a saying in Inazuma, "What are bandits but the children of war?" In times of tumult, even the harvest is a battlefield. See how this unfolds in the latest volume of A Legend of Sword. The fall is here. The season of harvest is almost upon us. The one speaking was Saito Onisa. Ninjas are dangerous individuals, experts in self-preservation and in avoiding danger. In times of war and upheaval, they work as mercenaries for the daimyo. They are born in war, and they draw their strength from the powerful masters they work for. Such is the path of the ninja. But it is also the path of the ninja to become displaced and disillusioned at the end of a war, or to meet their ruin as soon as they lose their powerful backing. So when the Imagawa Tai Shogun finally united the country, the ninjas became the hunting dogs that had outlived their purpose. Most were either executed or drafted into the shogun's army, but some got away, disappeared into the wilderness, and turned to a life of banditry. That is precisely Saito Onisa's story. There is no rush. Let's wait for the villagers to finish harvesting the grain for us. The person speaking this time was called Yonemata Taisuke. Bandits are either samurai who had grown weary of the warrior's way, or farmers fighting to stay alive. They too are born in war. They draw their strength from cunning, and this emboldens them to run amok across the land. But when the war ends and peace is restored, the source of their power evaporates. Like mayflies, they disappear as quickly as they came. Yonemata Taisuke was born into an ordinary farming family, only turning to banditry in his 40s. Yet despite his age, he took it with great aplomb? No, well, whatever. And quickly established himself as a ringleader. The most terrible of all bandits are those who have themselves suffered terribly under an oppressive hand. Then we burn everything, leave no survivors. His was the voice of an age of upheaval. Yes, those that feel like they are victims can do the worst shit. Because they feel like the world deserves it. They are victims after all. Volume 5. Amid a sea of stars that spin in reverse, a nondescript village in a remote corner of the Shattered Isles, a ronin who has fallen upon hard times forms an alliance with a group of farmers. A great battle with the bandits draws near. Bleh. The terrain of Asada Village. Asada Village? That sounds familiar. It was shaped like a crescent moon. Shinkuro had noticed this the very first time he set foot on the marshland.
Marshland. Well, it can't be in Azuma then. If it could organize enough villagers to lie in ambush up on the mountain ridge, shielding themselves with the terrain and attacking downwards from the high ground, defeating the enemy would be easy, especially since the bandits would be weary from their journey. Furthermore, the villagers outnumbered the bandits, so surrounding them on all sides would not be difficult to pull off. But the biggest obstacle to this plan was the villagers themselves. A small group of easy targets would be needed as bait to lure the bandits into the valley. But after enduring an age of despotic rule, only to continue to suffer under the tyrannical and extortionate taxation practices of the present shogunate, the mentality of individual self-preservation was deeply ingrained. How was he going to convince anybody to volunteer to be the bait and sacrifice themselves for everyone else's benefit? There was another problem too. In wartime, a samurai army finding themselves in this situation would be certain to use fire to make the ambush more effective. The wind from the mountain would make the fire spread quickly, trapping the enemy in the valley and dealing themselves a devastating blow. But this was a farming community seeking to keep the land and village safe. There was nothing he could say to convince them that setting their houses and grain reserves on fire was anything close to a good idea. This was completely understandable, of course, but the fact was that an even worse fate would await them should they fail to take the bandits down. Shinkuro silently sat down and continued to ponder the conundrum. Yeah, you can't exactly burn everything down. I haven't finished that thing. I haven't read that. Yeah, I haven't read that Hilly Trail thing. What is it? Marked. Oh well, time to read it. Volume 1. It contains investigations and observations into the cultural customs of the Hilly Trails by the poet laureate of Hilly Jacob Musk, a monster ecologist. Jacob Musk, eh? This volume features the social structure and characteristics of the Hilly Trails. So, Ella is continuing the story, huh? Continuing research. Oh well. Volume 1. Hilitarian Social Structure. The social structure of the Hilitarian race is evidently a primitive tribal one. Small-sized Hilitarian tribes are prolific in occurrence throughout the wilderness. It seems that they conceive of the tribe as akin to a large extended family. By far the most powerful figure in the Hilitarian tribe is the shaman. Extensive field research confirms that the shaman is the oldest member of the tribe and plays a role in it, analogous to that of the parent in the family, managing major affairs and making policy decisions based on their wealth of experience. Additionally, shamans act as protector to their tribe, using their elemental abilities. Shamans can be identified by their distinctive appearance from other tribe members. They wear horned, smiling face masks with eye holes at the mouth, and wield a rudimentary shaman staff in their hands. A further identifying feature is that they will be heard chanting to themselves some form of unintelligible hymn or incantation. Age is not always the deciding factor when it comes to status in a tribe. In some tribes, shamans are ousted from leadership by physically larger hilichurls with superior combat skills.
Under leadership of this kind, such tribes tend to become more aggressive. The chiefs of these tribes can easily be identified from their large stature and ostentatious masks, which also bear horns. The Hilichurl's hostility towards outsiders, coupled with their obvious language barriers, means that conducting specific research on the distribution of resources within tribes have been all but impossible. Nevertheless, Knights of Favonius' patrol reports suggest that resources are typically shared on the basis of to each according to his needs. All tribe members are both gatherers and soldiers, but some that prize combat above others develop into seasoned heavyweights of the battlefield. If the tribe stays long enough in an unfavorable environment, these heavyweights will become its most respected leaders. Interestingly, villagers seem to have a unique ability to manipulate the elements despite their low intelligence and primitive social structure. This ability is most notably manifested in the shamans. Typically, humans require vision in order to exercise elemental control. The question of how Hilichurls are able to do so without a vision is, therefore, one that requires further investigation and analysis. That is some food for thought. Maybe they have their own gods, who knows. Volume 2. It contains the investigations and observations into the cultural customs of the... I guess it's the same. Yeah, it looks the same. Hilichurl spirituality. Just as the inhabitants of the 7 nations of Tevat each have their religious beliefs, so too do the Hilichurls. However, they worship not a specific figurehead with a presence in this world, such as one of the 7, but elemental power itself in a more abstract sense. For instance, some Hilichurl tribes in Mondstadt revere Anemo just as their human counterparts do, but they do not recognize the animal Archon Barbados. Instead, they worship the power of Anemo itself. Hilichurls holding different elemental beliefs often live together in the same tribe. An individual Hilichurl's elemental affiliation can be deduced from the designs of their masks and the color of their body paint. Oh. So what's brown? First-hand observations indicate that the shaman responsible for organizing offerings and worship ceremonies for the tribe applies a colored dye to their hair and skin with the color representing the element they worship. Shamans are dressed and adorned more ornately than ordinary tribe members, but owing to the limited intelligence of the Hilichurls, it is highly doubtful that any of the fine ornaments worn are crafted by their own hand. The shaman is the spiritual leader of his tribe. He leads them in song and dance during worship, singing hymns of praise to the elements. If there is leftover meat from the hunt, the Hilichurls place it on the altar, raw as a sacrifice. Meat is fucking raw. Oh, sorry, I had to do it. Even though they accumulate ample mora, precious stones, and other items of value through exploring, looting, mugging, and other means, it would appear that raw meat alone is considered a sufficient sacrifice. Apparently. It would appear that the Hilichurls possess no concept of either the past or future, living only in the present. Well, that's pretty good. They do not intentionally store up food for survival, nor do they commemorate their deceased forebears. Though crude attempts at something like calligraphy have been widely observed within their camps, closer inspection reveals these markings to be nothing more than botched imitations of what they have seen in ancient ruins, possessing no originality whatsoever. Hilichurls do seem to have an inexplicable affinity for remnants of the past, evidenced by the fact that ruins are one of their preferred locations to camp, but investigations thus far have turned up nothing which might hint at the true nature of their connection with the lost civilizations to which these ruins belong. Yep, same. The mysterious loners. Among the Hillagers exists a kind of mysterious large creature possessing both immense physical strength and the ability to control the elements. They use this elemental ability to further enhance their physical state, such as to protect themselves or increase the brute force of their attacks, a combination making them nearly unstoppable. These powerful Hillagers are called Lawa by the rest of the tribe, a respectful form of address, best translated to mean king or chief. However, Lama don't actually rule over or lead the tribe at all. Rather, these large loners prefer solitude, avoiding the looks of reverence from the smaller Hillagers. Adventurers very rarely encounter these gigantic creatures. Still, even the most seasoned adventurers will think twice before going on expeditions into areas where these dangerous lawas may be roaming. Okay. Dadaopa Gorge, Mondstadt, a case for cultural diversity among the Hillagers. The Meaty tribe is fond of feasting. They have built a bull-rearing pen in the center of their settlement and assigned a swineherd to watch over it. Over a natural stove made with a pyro slime, they cook boar stew in a single large pot, from which each tribe member feeds according to their needs. The most striking feature of this tribe is its sizable combat arena. Those who set foot in the arena are understood to be accepting an open invitation to engage in combat, and those subsequently ousted from it face being mocked by the entire tribe. The sleeper tribe is prone to sleeping at every opportunity. They have built themselves an environment specifically conducive to sleep, consisting of simple wooden huts, furnished with soft animal hide for beds. They are the most cunning and devious of the Hilichurl tribes. Their above average mental capacity can perhaps be attributed to the superior sleep quality they enjoy. Oh my god, no wonder Sayu loves to sleep, so she can be extra cunning and devious. The practices of the Eclipse tribe are the most occult of any in Mondstadt. They concern themselves neither with brains nor brawn, but with occult power, distinct from the elemental powers worshipped by their peers. The object of their worship is a crude symbol that appears to represent an eclipsed sun. Their shamans are more powerful than those of the other tribes. In the center of their settlement, the other tribe members have built a grand throne to the most formidable of shamans who leads them. Oh, my throat. I'm gonna need to take a break. Oh. Okay. Now let's actually design the house a bit. By looking at some indoor sets. What do I want to build? Let's see. Jean, Lisa, Official, Eula. I guess I could build this. Just need one more exquisite Quiha shelf. There's Barbara Noel. Pretty good, I like it. Shinjio, oh. Okay, I have 3 of the characters. I have 3 of these characters. But I think I'll build something like one of these and one of these. So I need potted plant, crystalline breeze, and seashell table lamp. Sucks to have to go out and... Why can't I just mark it on my thing? Why can't I just say I look at my sets and I just build it from there? Because I have to look it up here and it's a piece of shit. And I've already forgotten what it was. Oh, good damn it.
I'll probably remember when I go through it. There's some sort of... Oh, there it is. Okay, Realm Depot. Furnishings. Pretty sure it's furnishings. It's a potted plant, although I'm not sure there will be a potted plant in this. Doesn't look like it. This looks like it's outside. Must be in here somewhere. It's potted plant. Here it is. Okay, that's one. What's the other one? Kuiha bookshelf. Where is it? Kuiha bookshelf. Was I looking at just before? Because it didn't say anything about Kuiha bookshelf. Economy Kuiha bookshelf? Exquisite Kuiha bookshelf? I can't remember which one it is. Just build mode. Okay, I don't know, probably one of these chairs, why not? Oh, goodbye. You see? You see? Make it easier. If I go into place mode and I look into indoor set, any of these two sets, I like to do this one. And when I do this, rather than saying obtain required furnishings, which you could have that too, we could actually say build required furnishings. Yeah. Wouldn't that sound interesting, eh? Exquisite, okay. These will be ready. Not really, because I build one of them. I can't see outside here, so I have to go outside first. Got some gifts from companions since I built this thing. Hello, Shinyan. How do you like it here?
雨描きがたし村に住んでる奴らはみんな穏やかな暮らしをしてる。あんな生活を長く送ってると退屈しちまうだろうな。あたいのロックならきっとあいつらに新しい体験と失った情熱を与えてやれるはずだ。 グズグズしてらんねえ。あたいのためにステージを立ててくれ。
Are you saying you want to perform for the old people, the elderly? I don't think they can take it. Oh, look at this. Oh, I thought she was gonna push it. Well, you like this place, Shinyan? Thought you'd like it.
練習のしすぎで力が出ねえ。飯をたらふく食わないと。
Suppose?
ここの料理は種類が多いな。全部の屋台の料理を食べてどれが一番ロックにふさわしいか決めてやるか。あんたも来いよ。あんたの好みも知りたいしな。
Oh, it's definitely the chop suey store. Ding. Hot pot. I love it. So that's a giant hot pot. Our Xiangling. Oh well, whatever, she can just stay there, I guess. Yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully I'm rested enough. I don't think so, but we'll give it a go. Alright. Let's keep going. Ballads. In term poem created by Elon Musk. According to her, this stirring narrative is the work of many hands, yet still cannot. Huh. Well, how are you supposed to get more ballads? I guess from permissions, I guess. Alright, let's do this. Travel Guide. A magazine by the Adventurers Guild. Each issue introduces great sceneries across Teyvat. This issue includes a short traveling diary of Alice the Traveler on her experiences in Mondstadt. Mondstadt. Chapter. Teyvat Geographic Special Edition. Alice's Mondstadt Diaries. The Delba Gorge. The 3 Helichel tribes located in this valley are all densely populated. What if we built a huge spinning ball-shaped cell in the center of the valley and threw all of the Helichels into it? That way, we might be able to generate enough energy to power all the mills in Mondstadt for at least 5 years. If we took it one step further by grinding the Helichels that are too old or too weak into food and feeding them to the strong ones. Oh my god. We might just build ourselves a perpetual motion machine that can support a huge factory like in Chesnaya. Well, at least now we know there's a huge factory in Chesnaya, but if, holy fuck. That was dark as shit. It seems totally feasible to me. And when I told Miss Lisa about this idea, she just looked at me and pondered in silence for a long time, then changed the subject gracefully. Star Snatch Cliff. The animal archon is a bit too undisciplined for me. If I were a god, I would not have allowed my realm to look so unorganized and ragged. With enough bombs placed in proper positions, even huge cliffs like Star Snatch will crumble into dust in a second. Well, with flatter terrain, Mondstadt would certainly look much nicer. But that unctuous cavalry captain rejected my proposal instantly. He even asked me to stay away from Star Snatch Cliff. So that's Kaya, huh? Windrise. At the center, there is a huge oak tree. He said that Vanessa ascended there. I searched around the tree for a long time but did not find any launching device. I grabbed some helichos nearby to put my theory to the test. Sadly, the longest flying distance was from here to hunters' huts around Springvale. How disappointing. Wait, how was she launching them? Falcon Coast. My unsuccessful experiment caused quite a stir in Springvale, so Miss Jean from the Knights of Favonius arranged someone to keep tabs on me. All I could do all day was wander around in Falcon Coast. This was such a boring place. Those stupid eagles hovering in the sky and puffed up animal slimes all bored me to death. The worst of it all was that I had nothing to do. On the other hand, the outrider girl who's sent to monitor me had quite a lot of fun with the kids. So it's Amber and Jean, huh? Very nice. Whispering Woods. Yet another forest in Mondstadt. The outrider named Amber seemed to know her way around this place. The explosive toy she carried around caught my attention. With some tweaks I could turn it into something that could blow this forest and even the nearby mountains into smithereens easily. My proposal seemed to scare her, but an explosive stuffed toy is indeed a brilliant idea. I must try it out next time. Bright Crown Canyon. I finally got rid of that stalker from the Knights of Favonius. This valley I found in the northeast coast of Cider Lake is still guarded by ancient mechanisms, but the soldiers responsible for holding the pass for the King of Gales were nowhere to be found now. All the winds of time had left behind were all the unintelligent hilichos and silent mechanical guards. My attempt to control ruined guards with hilichos failed as well. The guard split into pieces, and as for the fate of the helichos strapped onto it, I will spare you the gory details. Half of the ruins were also destroyed in the process. Wait, what? What is she trying to do? Storm Terror's Lair. Bright Crown Canyon leads to this huge ruin of an ancient city which was built by the cruel King of Gales, the Caribbean. The city was built in a ring shape. It seems that every resident of the city had been arranged into their own spot between the inner and outer rings. Right in the center of the city was the tall tower where the King of Gales resided. The ruins of the domain of this cruel king, who once tried to control his people's lives, are now utterly deserted. I blew up a few arcades so people can climb up the tower more easily. It looks quite good to me. The ruin feels more ancient now. Just blew up more of it. Volume 2. Each issue introduced great seniors across Teyvat. This issue controls a short traveling diary of Alice the Traveler in Leah. Wait a minute. I don't have one in fucking Inazuma. Leah chapter. Teyvat Geographic Special Edition. Alice's Travels in Leah. Dihua Marsh. The northern stretch of the Bishui River turns into a wetland. If you look south beyond the stone gates, you will see a silvergrass marsh as far as the eye can see. At the southernmost point of the marsh is an inn perched atop a giant rock. That is the Wangshu Inn, the highest point of the entire marsh. Look south from there and you will see the Guili Plains. You can also make out the green stone forest across the sea. Also, there is a weirdo staying at the inn on the top floor. I don't think I've ever heard him say a single word. Lunch is a true feast at the Wangshu Inn. The kitchen is equipped with every utensil you could imagine, perfect for getting some practical alchemy experience. On the topic of alchemy practice, got a few new things to test out in my search for an explosion catalyst. If everything goes smoothly, I'll spend a few more days here, then head to the Guili Plains. In the end, I came to the Guili Plains a few days earlier than I'd originally planned. Records suggest that prior to the Archon War, this area was a thriving marketplace. The foxes and wild finches are stunning here, with fur and feathers that have a certain glow about them. But I hear that they can be pests, too. The locals complain that they keep eating their fruit offerings to the Geo-Archon. I wonder if that gives them a fruity aroma when roasted. Maybe I should go hunting. They run a strict operation at the checkpoint on the main road, but the guard who works there are friendly people. I made a potion from some local herbs and gave it to one of them for his stutter. It cured him, but it did have some minor side effects. He now can't help but constantly imitate everyone he comes across. Not just what they say, but the way they say it. It's uncanny how spot on his impressions are. Well, guess I gotta find that guard. Julian Karst. I'm told that somewhere amidst the misty peaks of Julian Karst lives an Adeptus. The exact location hidden somewhere in the Ocean of Cloud. All the Lear herb gatherers claim to have seen the realm of the Adepti in all its glory revealed before their very eyes in the clouds. Based on personal experience, I can say that overindulging on certain types of mushrooms can induce visions of a similar nature. The terrain here fascinates me. So many of these stone pillars look like they belong deep underground. Not here on the top of the mountain. There is supposed to be an underground reservoir here. Part of me wonders if all the water was drawn out. Perhaps June Cast would find itself back on the ocean floor where it belongs. My travel companion Zhongli is the sternest person I know. Wait a minute. Well, he seems most entertained by this theory. He won't stop laughing. What an odd fellow. Oh. I wonder if he still looked the same. Yaoguang Shoal. I've heard that the fog often rolls in off the sea into Yaoguang Shoal. And when it's at its thickest, you can barely see your hand at the end of the outstretched arm. Unfortunately, I didn't make it here in time to see a foggy episode. It's a bit of a shame. There's so many lovely shells on the beach. I wonder how many of them have been here since the Archon War. I strung some of them together to make a necklace, but unfortunately that fisherman from the inn sat on it and broke it. Every last shell brutally crushed beneath his merciless buttocks. None were spared. Not only that, but because he injured himself on the shards of broken shell, I had to pay his medical bills. A giant conch shell stands on the beach where the Bishui River enters the sea. A kind old lady lives inside. Her family is said to have sailed here on the giant shell, and she spends her time rescuing shipwrecked people who end up drifting near the shore. I think that repurposing the giant shell as a self-propelled boat would make it much easier for her to rescue people from the sea. But after I lost control of my third prototype seashell boat and it blew up, the kind old lady decided she was not going to rescue me from the sea anymore. Everything blows up. Huyun Stone Forest. This is the site where the Geo-Archon defeated the sea monster. Some of the great stone spears that pierce the ocean floor still tower above the surface of the sea. Though many snapped long ago, the hexagonal stone pillars formed from a conglomeration of geo-energy are quite intriguing to look at. Viewed from above, one gets the impression that they were deliberately arranged in their current form to make a specific shape on the ocean surface. Maybe that was the real reason the Geo-Archon rained down destruction on the ocean floor with his stone spears. Maybe it was all just a big joke, albeit in extremely poor taste. Zhong Li from Liyue Harbor seems extremely knowledgeable in Liyue folklore, but I've never actually seen him come here. I can see the Wangshu Inn in the distance. I'll bet that weirdo I met there last time is still staring this way now. The flow of the ley lines around here is unique in all of Liyue. Much more dynamic, somewhat unstable. It's as if a great, relentless power stirs somewhere in the depths of the ocean. Perhaps it is the defeated sea monster still writhing on the ocean floor. Inazuma, where's your shit? Where's the favorite travel guide? When in doubt, go to Yay Publishing House. I'm pretty sure I bought all the books here.
Where's my damn book?
形は精神と共にあれ。
Oh wait, it's not here. Oh, the opposite way. Oh well, whatever. Time to get my due. Got some treasure I want to sell. Wait, what? Give me some souvenirs. I don't want to sell shit. Well, that's it. All that's left is more. That can wait. Should I sell whatever? Let me see what it is. There's some treasure I want to sell. Yeah? Well, to tell you the truth, we've managed to restore a regular supply of goods. We don't really make collecting odds and ends a habit in any case. Just from looking at you, I think it's safe to assume that it's something most interesting indeed. Well, why don't you let me have a look at it then? Dragonbone Orb. Oh yes, that! I'll be honest with you. While this is quite the curious tale, it does seem a bit too out there. This object falls somewhat outside my area of expertise. Please, don't scoff. I am but a mere craftsman myself. How about this then? 80,005 sashimi platters. Those dishes aren't cheap by any means, mind you. If you agree to this price, I will buy this treasure. What will you use it for? I'm not sure at the moment. I'll need to give it some thought. The situation is right, I might be able to modify this into a special netsuke and sell it for a decent price. If they agree to this price, I will buy it. No. Fair enough, I need to give this a little thought myself. You can come to me once again and just thought things over. That's way too little. It came from a giant flower mushroom thingy. Is it you? Lacquerware. Okay. Useless. Now one might expect it to come from this Yai Publishing House. So I think that's the only place with books. Oh wait, there's also what do you call it? Kokomi's library. I thought to be, but yeah, Greg got everything from that. Yeah, I got everything. Everything I could get. Maybe there isn't one yet. Oh well. Because I'm pretty sure they'll make a note for you to actually get it. Because we specifically went for the travel guide in Mondstadt and I think Leah. So yeah. I think that's part of a quest, so. Oh well. Means it's not ready yet. Let's continue. I guess let's read this. Volume 1. A Hilichurn poem created by Elon Musk. According to her, this recital of friendship is the work of many hands. Still, you can't help but feel that something sounds a bit off when you read it. Hola, hola. Yo, mosi mita. Nie, mosi mita. Ye, mosi busha. Mosi kusha, mosi tiga. Ye, kucha. Okay, done. The Mondstadt Tower. I suppose. Because I judge it by looking at the scroll bar on the right. Is that how much I have to read? Yeah. Volume 1. In the age of depression and tyranny, the outlander girl met the ominous orphan. Does this fateful encounter foretell a tragic ending? The historic romance novel, The Mondstadt Tower, begins. Okay. In the time of the aristocrats, there stood a tower in Mondstadt's plaza. This is old Mondstadt, so stone chairs there. It was built to honor Barbados, animal archon in name, yet in reality it was nothing more than a flamboyant display of wealth and power by the royals to gloat over the commoners. The one time in the year that the commoners living in these dark times could find a little solace was during Ludiharpastum. During one Ludiharpastum, a wandering singer from a distant land arrived in the city. The name of the lass was Ines, and everyone at the festival was enchanted by her stunning beauty. People of all ages and all walks of life vied to catch a glimpse of her throwing the harpastum, and to hear her sing foreign ballads. The blessings of Barbados are for everyone. You are only sinful if you are bitter at such a joyous occasion. As she sang these verses, she handed out her earnings during the festival to the poor and orphans in the city. A frail figure stood among the crowds. He was the seneschal, and he fell for her at first sight. But his religious piety filled him with a frustration at his inability to suppress the emotions he was experiencing, and her acts of charity, which violated the church's right to help the poor, irked him all the more. As is known to all, the beliefs of contemporary Mondstadters hold that the animal archon Barbados encourages people to seek love and pursue freedom. But in the Dark Ages, the animal archon slept, and the city was tormented by the tyranny of the nobles, the poverty of the commoners, and the ravage of the dragon. A ravage of the dragon? Back then too? Okay. Meanwhile, the self-proclaimed unorthodox church, a mere figurehead, controlled by the ruling class, advocated abstinence from earthly pleasures to avert divine punishment. Under such circumstances, even the harp which symbolized the wind had been restricted to playing only those songs deemed holy. However, the notion of divine punishment was little more than an excuse fabricated by the nobles to conceal their avarice and restrict the commoners. To let her stay in the city is to bewitch all its inhabitants. What wickedness will this witch bring? The seneschal pondered. And so, the seneschal plotted to hunt down Ines, and to confine her to the cathedral while awaiting further instructions. As per the traditions of the time, the maiden chose to throw the harpastum, should serve at the royal court for 3 days after the celebration. Under the protection of the aristocrats, the seneschal decided to send his adopted son, Octave, to sneak into the royal court and abduct Ines. Octave was an unwelcome child, abandoned by his superstitious parents at birth and later raised by the seneschal. As a child, he was persecuted and abused by the citizens, seen as a bad omen of draconic disasters. The only person who protected Octave was the seneschal, who treated him like his own son, and thus won his utmost trust. Bring the maiden who threw the harpastum yesterday to me. Disturb no one and do not mention my name. Under orders of the seneschal, Octave climbed into the balcony of the court chambers at nightfall. Upon seeing the girl weeping in the moonlight, his pure heart was stirred, for he had never seen such a wondrous sight. He gazed at the girl, leaving his task forgotten. The silence of the tranquil moment shared by Octave and the girl was interrupted by the servants. Oh my God. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do when he comes for you? Oh. Ah, this one's pretty short. Let's read this one too. Volume 1. A popular song since the reconstruction of Mondstadt, it tells the story of Vanessa, the founder of the Knights of Favonius, in her early years as a slave in Mondstadt. Friends of Mondstadt, let us revel. Let us revel. Drink to our heart's content. To freedom, to the animal Archon, to Vanessa, the first knight to grace this world. Sons and daughters of Mondstadt, may the gift from the animal Archon be engraved in your hearts, and let it be known that this gift is not freedom, but just defiance. It transpired in ages past. Friends, do excuse me for improvising, for it should be clear as day that the glory and freedom of Mondstadt were born when Barbados struck the strings Dolce. Dolce and Gabbana? Poems sing of heroic fame, yet to commemorate unnamed freedom should they aim. Chained by the royals, Mondstadt could barely aspire, and festivals were but vanity games of the rich, beyond the grasp of the ordinary people. A withering dungeon Mondstadt was. In slavery games the royals gaily relished, oblivious to their place the inmates were. Wait, this doesn't really seem to rhyme. Oh well. A fiery-headed dame confined to a cell, from the southern plains she did hail. Shouldn't that be jail then? A fiery-headed dame confined to a jail, from the southern plains did she did hail? Makes more sense to me. Born free, but now bound by chains, though restrained by a tyrant her flesh remained. Still, her pious soul never ceased to pray for her people, for Mondstadt, for elusive freedom, if she may. Okay. Volume 2. Same shit. No? Popular song since the reconstruction of Mondstadt. It tells the story of Vanessa, the founder of the Knights of Favonius, in her early years when she met Barbados, the animal Archon, as well as how she defeated the Drake and overthrew the aristocrats. Friends of Mondstadt, let us revel, drink to your heart's content. The day came when the Barbados answered her devotion. The animal Archon sought her fiery hair and descended to her position. Every being deserves a name, the spirit grinned. To weave your fair name into a song I yearn. I seek nothing but your friendship in return. The girl happily reciprocated. Her fears swiftly dissipated. And so the battlefield she marched to Barbados' singing voice. The demonic dragon fled from her might, and the people did rejoice. Corpulent aristocrats crawled under tables at such a valiant sight. Mondstadt is freedom. The winds sang for their people in delight. Lonely forest breezes converged. Jointly they overthrew the tyrant's tower from the sky. Tyrant's tower from the sky. Broken free from shackles at last, the young lioness stood firm in the winds with her head held high. And so the fiery-headed dame won herself prestigious fame. Her heart swelled with appreciation to sing by the animal Archon's side. But no words of gratitude should she utter, Barbados replied. You first conducted what now transpires in your song. You have entrusted me with your friendship and your name. To praise your freedom, my songs came. Friends, let us drink some more, for thence flows the freedom of Mondstadt. When days become nights and faces fill with despair, never forget the heroic tales of Vanessa, the dame with the flaming hair. Never cease to pursue freedom, even when the land is bare. Lioness, apparently. Vanessa is the lioness. Ballad selection. Well, it's a song, so yeah, let's read it. Volume 1. The masterpiece of the poet laureate of Helichurian. Scholar Jacob Musk will show you the mysterious spiritual world of the Helichurls through his poetry collection. The collection of Helichurian poetry compiled by the Mondstadt ecologist Jacob Musk. During the writing of this book, Musk traveled across the continent to visit every Helichurian tribe, even going so far as to venture deep into Helichurian settlements and become intimately acquainted with their lives. Musk was praised as the poet laureate of Helichurian for this book, but it is evident that neither the scholar himself nor the Helichurians were particularly fond of this honor. Jacob Musk, though enthusiastic about Helichurian studies, loathed to be associated with them in his late years. Oh. The first song, Mi Muhuye, Mi Biatye, Biatye Dada, Muhe Dada. Quite possibly a battle song sung by the Hilichurls before combat. I have observed that when 2 or more Hilichurls are present, they engage in frenzied brawling after singing this vulgar song. Second poem. Aleka mimi da domu, mita domu adada, la 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 la, mimi mosi ya mita. This song is sung by the Hilichurls as they dance around the totem poles. In my estimation, it is some form of tribal hymn. It has an upbeat tone and usually heard during festivals. Third poem. Mi muhu, mi muhe, mita nye, mi muhe, mita nye, muhe nye, usha, biad, usha. A melancholic Hilichurl song I heard during an exchange with an elderly Samatriel. Although I do not yet understand the literal meaning of the poem, the overwhelming sense of grief that comes through in the song is enough to captivate the best poets in my birthplace. Despite such praise, I must admit the acrid smells coming from the elderly Hilichurls were just as melancholic and just as overwhelming. Are wine and poetry a part of the Hilichurl lifestyle? Do they have pure and devout desires? Expert on the Hilichurls, Jacob Musk is here to answer. The fourth poem. Seli upa seli, sada shato lata, kuzi unu ya zido, unu dada. Song sung by Samatriels. Judging by the reaction of the chief, this song seems to bear a special philosophical meaning for the Hilichurls. It may appear ridiculous in mainstream academic circles, and I have no intention of casting doubt upon well-established views. But I feel obliged to say that the question of whether a philosophical discourse truly exists among the Hilichurls is one that still fascinates me to this day, and may be deserving of further study. The fifth song. Nini movo, muhe yoyo, nini movo, mimi tomo, nata movo, mosi yoyo. Seli movo, seli yoyo. Much like the people of Mondstadt, the wine-worshipping Hilichurl tribes often drink to excess and sing endless songs of praise to the animal archon. This is the Hilichurl ode that is often heard when they are inebriated. No, they get drunk too. They make their own drinks. The sixth song. Unu unu, yaya ika kundala. Unu mita dada ya dala. Unu kuzi mita dada ye mita dada mimi. A pious ode that is only sung by Hilichurls during sacrifices. When performing this ode, the Hilichurls often add percussion by beating the backsides of the weakest tribe. Backsides of the weakest tribe members with planks, creating rhythmic ringing sounds. It must be quite painful. Yeah, forget having drums. What do you mean? My controller is still here. Don't know what the hell you're talking about. The seventh song. Mimi movo, mimi sada, mimi domu, domu upa kushadada. Appears that many Hilichurl tribes share a tradition of exchanging songs around bonfires in the moonlight. This song is one such bonfire ballad.
sung by the chief at the end of the night. At the end of the song, the chief shouts Nunu 3 times, which presumably carries the meaning of sleep. Nunu, Nunu, Nunu. Or an echo, echo, echo. I'm gonna say echo, echo, echo. Roiled, the adventurer. Oh, roiled. Dong dong. Eh. Records of June. Yes, Ballads of the Squire. I can't really go for very long because I think my controller's dying. That'd be problematic, to say the least. Alright, Volume 1. Ballads that have been passed down since the aristocratic period and are said to come from Ragnvindir, the Dawn Knight himself. Tale of Ragnvindir's days as a knight's squire. What a weird name. Let me just get my thing to charge the controller in case it dies. Okay. Down every street in Mondstadt have I strolled. The air was filled with the stench of misery and the buzz of revelry. I saw the most arrogant of aristocrats, and I saw the most pitiful of the impoverished. At night these streets are a spider's web. Some here to feast, others their eternal prey. I hear a jangling in the night, and know it is the chains that fetter the souls of the oppressed. I patrol the streets of Mondstadt at night time, where my peers and superiors would once declare, "We are the starlit knights. Lift thy heads and bear witness. For we who raise our flag in the splendor of starlight are the true protectors of Mondstadt." But not once have I lifted my head to the stars or gazed at our flag, for I cannot shift my focus from the filthy street corners. Destitute peddlers weep in silence, aging soldiers grimace in pain. In the deathly stillness of night, a young girl rejected by the aristocracy pleads for Barbados's mercy. The sighing of mournful winds rattles the cathedral gate, carrying with them the grief of the oppressed. They assault splendid palatial walls. Each mother's call, each infant's cry, enough to dent the hardest of shields, enough to shatter the sharpest of swords. Sounds of sorrow send shivers down my spine, but in the palace and in the castle, though the wind blows the same over holy ground, they are but the sighs of ants to the ears of men. What? Ballads have been passed down to the aristocratic periods, said to come from Ragnvindir. The Dawn Knight himself, they tell of Ragnvindir's friendship with a sword dancer. One day at the crack of dawn, a dancer whose sword was her song set foot in Mondstadt. Though clad in chains with cuffed hands and fettered feet, in her silence lay a song. It was the song of freedom, a song of a brighter dawn beyond the walls, a joyous ballad sung without reservation by a people unrestrained. Oh, that's Vanessa, isn't it? She was the dawn light of the wondrous troop. Wondrous troop? Oh! Dawn light of the wondrous troop. Oh, that sounds like what I got. But she spelled eternal midnight for the aristocracy. I once asked her, "Why do you come to overthrow our aristocrats? Do you not know that they are the first among us? Wherefore do you place their lives on a pedestal?" Came her voice like a fresh breeze. "If you claim to know the wind as your companion, then did you not once know freedom too?" To her lonesome listeners she told a tale of our rulers, better ancestors who held divine power, a tale of angels, gods, and vile dragons, a tale of the deities and people of all the land. Each myth and legend she turned to song, and the wind carried the song to all corners of the land. In the aristocrat's arena, her sword sang once more, her final masterpiece, but it stopped short of perfection. Nameless Knight retrieved her sword from the blood-soaked battlefield and buried it where the gentle winds meet in communion. So, I don't think it was Vanessa, and I think she died in the arena. Oh well. But I would love to read until it's like at the end of the stream. I don't think my throat can handle it. Alright, let's read like two more short ones. The first part of a traditional Inazuma novel. This particular volume is also known as Shinkageuchi, was once a restricted text. It contains a fantastical tale about the first Raiden Shogun and her Kagemusha, depicting the benevolent sagacity of the first Shogun and the great valor of her Kagemusha. However, due to this great popularity of another book colloquially known as Raiden Reincarnation, many people became interested in stories of this kind. This book thus wound up being published in a haphazard manner. Okay. It is often said that a drawn bow is like the quartered moon, and studying the blade is like a circle of transparent jade. It is said that when Narukami came to her people, she brought with her the knowledge of crafting swords. After thousands of years and hundreds of bountiful harvests, mortal swordsmiths were at last able to make swords that would please even Narukami herself. Narukami's a person? Thus did the Grand Shrine and the Shogunate enact this divine ceremony. They collected the greatest swords in the world and offered them up to the shrine, thus naming these blades Goshinto. This ceremony was a very lively one indeed, and the practice persists to the present period. However, there are many behind-the-curtain matters concerning the Goshinto that few know of. No famous craftsman merely forges one blade in one sitting. The greatest of their works are known as Shinuchi, and are given a lovely name before being offered to the craftsman's lord or deity. These are not built for taking lives and are to remain pure. The others known as Kageuchi, and will be given to retainers for them use as weapons. Given to retainers for them to use as weapons. God dang it. These will often be used to shed blood and will thus be stained with impurity and filth. From the day Narukami Gongen, the first shogun, began her dominion over the land of Inazuma, she was accompanied by her younger twin sister, Shin and Kage. Younger twin sister, Shin and Kage. Wouldn't be twin sisters? Light and dark they were, mediating and holding court, ordering and giving battle. The younger of the two was named A, and if her name was to be written plainly, it would likely be the word for shadow, but she was in relation to the first shogun, to whom she would become the successor. As most know, only the seven emerged from the wreck and ruin of the war that rolled across the mortal world like a crimson storm. Though the Shadow Shogunate was divinely skilled in martial arts and unsurpassed with the blade, she believed herself little more than a warrior with little understanding of mortal hearts. Thus she chose to give up her bodily form, helping her sister to ascend to the heavenly citadel and obtain dominion over Inazuma. Shortly after, the true shogun, Makoto, set up her shogunate and began to rule over the land. Remembering their bond, she recalled A's divine will and reforged her body, thus returning her sister to her side once more as her Kagemusha. Oh, so that's when A did it. I'm not sure how she gave up her body just to become a sword. And then it turned out to be Makoto made the body for A. A just programmed it, I think. I guess. Now it's a bit more understandable. Yes. Okay, that's that, At one point I did want to read the Byakurokoku collection, but that is fucking long. Look at that fucking scroll bar. It's pretty dang small. Toki Ali Tales, well, I haven't actually done a lot of it, so yeah, I'm gonna have to collect more. This one also uncollected, unfinished, so don't bother. Don't read those that you haven't finished. So this one shall be the last one. Okay, Saga of Hamavaran, Volume 1. The prefaces of the new light novel, The Saga of Hamavaran, now combines into their own separate volume due to a business model adjustment. Forward. Thanks to a fruitful new writer recruitment drive and the phenomenal success of the contest, this novel is amazing. We have received many highly original works from up-and-coming writers all over the world. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our international writers for supporting Inazuma's light novel industry. They'd also like to thank Kanjo Commissioner Hiroaki Shinsuke for his grace and generosity. It's thanks to all of you that we are able to bring so many outstanding works to the readers of Inazuma here today. As you all know, prior to the promulgation of the Sakoku Decree, a number of accomplished samurai from various lands were active in Inazuma, one of them whose name is Hamavaran. Hails from the distant rainforest nation of Sumeru. Rainforest, oh. But came all the way to the land of the lightning's glow to be an agent of chivalry. Though tales of Hamavaran's deeds were once buried during the peak of unchanging eternity under Her Excellency the Shogun, they have now been given life anew thanks to the narrative prowess of a good friend of mine, the budding author Persina. Persina? Persina Spices? No, Persina Spikes. Oh, the Sumeru inventor. Persina Spikes, I remember that. Now, without further ado, please enjoy the Saga of Hamavaran at your leisure. How could this happen? An ordinary scholar from Sumeru is unexpectedly assigned an unpopular specialization in order to go forth to the land of thunder and lightning. The curtains slowly rise on an adventure in a nation of many shores. Volume 2. It's not the tempest at sea I'm worried about. It's the prospect of deferred graduation. This was the thought occupying Hamavaran's mind on his long voyage to Inazuma. You're worrying about not getting your thesis finished in time and having to delay your graduation, aren't you? The familiar sounding voice came from inside the cabin. Shush! Who are you anyway? Who, me? Is that important? Good point. No, you're not that important. Hey. And so, as the great thunderstorm raged, shaking the seas and heavens alike, Hamavaran began arguing with the quiet voice from outside the window, while all worries about the storm and fears about not completing the thesis on time paled into insignificance. Strangely, when Hamavaran arrived on shore, the owner of the voice that had been arguing back from the outside the window was nowhere to be seen. Maybe it was the ghost of a shipwreck victim.
Hamavaran considered this possibility. Ghosts are just the ley lines, memories of the deceased, Hamavaran reasoned. It's a completely natural phenomenon that occurs due to the resonance between past and present, to be sure. It's highly unusual for this to happen in the middle of the ocean, but it's by no means impossible. What are you calling a ghost? You're the ghost. Hamavaran had finally produced a satisfactory hypothesis to explain away the symptoms of delirium and had moved onto luggage collection when the familiar voice piped up once more. Ghost calling? Is that the same as spirit warding back home? With confusing questions swirling in his mind, Hamavaran begins to speak with his newfound traveling companion. An unexpected journey begins. Beginnings, yes. So, you really are a ghost? No, I'm not even dead yet. But shh, you've never been alive either? Yeah, I guess you could say that. The talkative young girl who claimed to be a Shikigami gulped down glutinous rice dunga with such speed and intensity that Hamavaran began to worry she might choke. If I had to explain it, I'd say my situation is more like that of a ghost calling. So, like I said, a ghost. No, not that kind of ghost. One argument later, Hamavaran finally understood that what she called ghost calling was something roughly equivalent to what in Sumeru is known as spirit warding. Both involve signing a pact using one's real name. The notion that you can command someone when you know their real name is common to many of the world's mystic traditions, and it highlights a core fear held by humans, the fear of being under someone else's control. With thoughts thusly wandering, Hamavaran once again began to regret specializing in the much neglected discipline of marine biology instead of mysticism. First, I have to sail all the way to Inazuma, then I have to go through the living hell that is a thesis defense. But maybe running into this noisy little thing is a stroke of good luck for me. Shikigami. Kinda like Shikitaisho, I guess. Well, anyway. Now I'll have to do... How was it? The quest. Oh.
あれが七天神像だぞ。神をかたどった像は七神の象徴としてこの大陸に点在してるんだ。
The old stuff. It's all here.
そうね。彼らは目的のためなら何でもやるわ。
Completed quests. All the dialogue is here.
旅人探したんだよ。この前。
Huh. So these are the thingamadings? The viewpoints? Well, it makes sense I haven't discovered much of here because I haven't really explored it too much. Inazuma though, 100% apparently. Obviously not really. Kujo encampment. Okay. Tutorials, racing all living beings. I'll go. Going through all this can't be a tough job. Tough job. Thank God. Go through everything. Absolutely everything. But that'll do it for me. I already feel like my voice is kinda gone bad. I'll have to leave it here for now. Otherwise, I won't make it for Friday night gaming. Or even Friday for that matter. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Dolce and Gabbana. Oh yeah, peach. Maybe I'll explore some more of later.